What is up, guys? This is going to be Shiv back to you today in Shiv's Clan War Mechanics. And well, Clash of Clans has been really boring um, since quite a while now. And the reason is because I don't have my friends to play with. So, Clash of Clans is a social game. It's very interesting when you play it with your friends, not so interesting when you play it alone. By the way, I still have a clan getaway car, which I did mention in my previous video. So you can go ahead and check that out, but it's kind of inactive. I don't really play. What I'm trying to do these days is trying to focus and improve my chess. In particular, I came across a very interesting, a special variant of chess that's four-man chess. And now, I mean, you can find the rule book for this one pretty much on the internet, or you can also find it from chess.com. So basically, if you want to play four-player chess, what you need to do is you just need to go ahead on Google, type four-player chess, and the first link that comes, just click that link. It's from chess.com. It will open up a board like this, and I mean, I'll go through one of my games, which I have played just right now. Like, I mean, I would say it ended 15 minutes ago. So I'll go through this game and I'll tell you the rules first. Okay, so the rules are simple. Basically, uh, let's actually bring a rules document, and that would be very easy. And then we'll go through our game after that. So like all standard theory is true for four-player chess. The only thing is that the player with most points win. Most points will win. There will be two variants. One is the free-for-all variant, and one is the team variant. So in the team variant, basically players who are sitting opposite to each other, they will work as a team. And then the team variant ends when either of the four kings get checkmated. So that's when the team variant does end. So let's say if blue and green, so I am blue right here. So let's say if I and green are teams, right? So let's say if we just manage to checkmate either of these red or yellow kings, the game ends then and there, and blue and green both win. So that's the team variant. The free for all variant is actually much more amusing for me. Like the team variant is amusing when all four players are people that you know. So in case you already have a squad that plays chess, it's kind of hard to find people who are at a similar rating than yours, because there are some people who really are into the game. They just can see a lot of creative ideas and tactics, and then there are the people who are just casual players. So it kind of gets boring when you don't have those people. But you can always go and play online. It will just match you with someone very close to your rating. But anyway, that's about the four-player chess variation, the team variation. Now, the individual variation, which is also called the free-for-all variation, is when all four players are, all four players are for themselves. So they are just alone. They are just lone warriors, and it's basically like the last man standing wins. Now, how this does actually work is this. Let's say that in this game, yellow was actually the one who was checkmated first. So let's say if yellow is checkmated, now someone needs to capture yellow's king after that. So after the checkmate also, like someone will have to actually capture yellow's king, and then people get points based on that. So I think a queen is worth 10 points, a bishop is worth 5, rooks are basically 6. I'm not sure on that. We'll just check in just a moment. So let's go ahead and search point system in four pages. So I'm kind of really new to this variation, and I have yet to find like a very okay. So knights are 3, bishop and rook both are 5, okay, and queen are 9. So and queen are 9 and king are 20. Okay, so if you basically checkmate someone, you just get 20 points. So checkmate is like it gives you a lot of points basically, right? Now there's one more thing that you need to know is that okay, let's just go through the game, and then things will come during the game, right? Okay, so uh, please don't mind. I mean, the coordinate here is J3. I hope that is visible. Okay, so red goes J3 here. Kind of like a classical move. Maybe he wants to fianchetto this bishop at some point, and that's why he goes J3. We'll come to that. So now I go with knight c9. Now this coordinate is actually c9. So I go with my knight to c9. And the reason is because I see that he goes j3, and the only reason is because he wants to fianchetto. Now either he wants to, like, okay, there can be two main reasons for j3. The number one reason is he is eyeing this like green's king side, and the number two reason is if he somehow, manages to like fianchetto his bishop, he will be eyeing my king side as well. So from this point, the bishop can eye both of our king sides. And see, the main idea behind this four-player chess is that, let's say if green and yellow, they both are engaging in combat. Now red can actually seize this opportunity and can actually attack green from this flank, or let's say if we both are if blue and yellow are actually engaged in a combat along this flank, then red can actually seize this opportunity and try to attack my queen side flank. So basically, I mean, both of these players, they can try to gang up on me because I'm actually busy in fighting red. And then if if there is like, let's say if my queen is hanging on this side, let's say if I have a queen, let's clear this. So let's say if I have a queen here, he plays a pawn here. So in the next move, I definitely have to move my queen away and just have to defend my queen. So red can actually take advantage of this, and he might just actually play something like bishop takes here. Let's say if this pawn is out of the way, bishop takes here. Now I have a choice: either I should just protect my queen, get my queen back, or I should just capture his bishop. But definitely I'm just gonna move my queen away. So this is something you have to actually be aware of, and that's why I actually start doing this preparation with knight c9. I don't want any of these fianchetto and x-ray ideas that red might have. And okay, we have g11 by yellow and k8 by green. So we go on to the next moves, e3. And now again, see, red is actually the highest rated player. He's 2007 on the ladder, guys, and I'm just 1450. Green is 1890 and yellow is 1469. So at this moment, just looking at the ratings, I know that probably I will just have to battle red. I mean, if I can just battle red, uh, I will basically win this game. So if I can just defeat red, because the thing is, red is the highest player here. Now, obviously, I mean, green is also rated more than me, so green is a threat, but then green is very far away from me, and red is the only guy who will actually attack me. So with all that under consideration, I know that I actually have to move this pawn up at some point to try to neutralize this diagonal that he's creating, because the reason he's creating this diagonal is basically, let's say if I go greedy here, if I just try to expand towards the center, if yellow expands, and let's say if these light square bishops get exchanged, now I have this hanging pawn, and let's say if I'm out of the move, let's say if we just exchange pieces and then I'm out of the move, red gets a chance and he will just attack this. So at this point, what I'm thinking is I have to just play just neutralize his bishop somehow. So I go c11 first, because at this point I know that I just don't want to give yellow actually any attacking chances. I just want to concentrate on my queen side for now. And this is actually very good when your king side is towards the weakest player, right? I mean, this is actually very good. So g10 by yellow. So he's just trying to push his pawn. Also, now in this four-player chess, now you can notice that we have the h file here. So let's say if I push my pawn up all the way to this h file, and that's exactly 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8 squares from the edge of my board. So if I push my pawn to 8 squares, that's basically 1 2 3 4 5 and 6 pawn moves, I will basically get a promotion to a queen or whatever I want. So this is what yellow is actually trying to do here. Let's actually see if yellow is able to succeed in this plan. So now we have j8, and now green is actually also coming here, and this is the reason why both of us are not really worried about them pushing pawns. I mean, in a situation, let's say if green is not pushing this pawn, let's say if green is just developing his king side a little bit, he's not pushing this pawn. Now in that situation, either me or red, they will have to wonder like, where's this pawn going, and I will just have to play something like knight here, maybe knight here, trying to stop this pawn. And let's say if he decides to attack my knight, I will have to defend, and that will I will have to defend like this. I will have to defend my knight like this. So anyway, I mean that would become a very crazy position. But anyway, like the fact that green and yellow both are pushing is actually very good for us, and you'll see that in just a moment. So anyway, B bishop j2. We talked about the fianchetto. It does come here, and now thankfully we have this prophylactic knight, which is kind of neutralizing this X-ray just a little bit. You don't want to have this pawn being continuously eyed on. Let's say this knight wasn't here. So anyway, we have knight to c6 by me, and now I'm preparing to actually, I'm just getting my knights out. I don't want to actually commit to any moves as of now. I don't want to give any ideas to anyone. I don't want to move my central pawns ahead. I don't want to give them any opportunities to exchange my bishops. So I just want to be really solid at this point. And the reason is because you don't want to exchange pieces in a four-player chess format. I mean, in an ideal chess format, you might exchange a knight for a knight. You don't do it here because, I mean, let's say if you'll actually see that in just a moment where I actually do a blunder. So we have g9, yellow continuing his plan, pushing i8 by green, and now bishop e2, again going for that fianchetto, and look at how beautifully red is actually controlling both of the major diagonals that his bishop can take. And also he's eyeing the king side of green, he's eyeing the queen side of green, and he's eyeing my king side and queen side as well. So basically he's attacking on both of these flanks. He's trying to get solid here. He has this I don't know what do you call it, the crab kind of formation. He's fan shadowing both of his bishops anyway. So red, you just have to be aware of him. He's the highest rated player. So also note what is my psychology in this game. I mean, I know that yellow is actually less of a threat than red, and that's why I'm trying to prepare more on my queen side. So at this point, I see that this is actually becoming a threat now. I mean, the reason why this is becoming a threat is because let's say if he comes here with the queen, what do I do? So I push c4 immediately. I mean, I don't want to, allow him to, come here with the queen, then queen and the bishop both are attacking this pawn. And I mean, if someone else also decides to take this opportunity, maybe he can just play this pawn here and try to attack my king side. And then I'm like, okay, what do I do? Do I push c4? Do I protect this side? What do I do? So you don't want to get attacked on both flanks, and that's why it's better to just stay, just try to think ahead of your opponent. Just try to think, okay, what they are planning, and just stop that immediately. Just stop them in their tracks. And the reason why I actually won this game is because I actually did this. I stopped all of my opponent's plans, and then they were like, oh, you know what, this guy, he's lower rated, and it's very tough to attack him also as well. So let's actually just go attack other players. I mean, that's what they had in mind, right? So we have g8 by yellow. Again, now yellow is only one step away from promoting to a queen, but he will not actually get a queen, and the reason is that immediately we have h8 by green. And now after h8, the point is that yellow can go ahead, he can promote to a queen, but then this queen is not defended. Let's say if yellow did decide to push his queen side pawn, I mean, then this queen would, then this particular queen, let's say there was a queen here, it would have defended this queen, and that would have been okay. But you know what, anyway, I mean, no matter what he promotes to, the pawn can take it anyway, and then, I mean, the game continues. Okay, so we have knight to f3 by red, preparing, developing the knight here. There's no point in keeping this diagonal open. The bishop is just caught. And okay, sorry about that. So what I basically meant to say is that this bishop is sort of neutralized here. This knight is, staying. I mean, I don't have any plans of moving the knight, and so he decides to just develop his own knight. And okay, now also interesting to note that he doesn't develop this side knight because he still wants to keep this diagonal open, because there's nothing stopping here. So green should actually develop his knight, and let's see whether he does that or not. And okay, d10 by me. So d10 is not a move that is very necessary to play, but then what do you do here? You don't have a lot to do. You don't want to expand on the side that you have the most dangerous enemy here, so you don't want to expand on this queen side. I mean, this whole side, you don't want to do anything. You just want to stay as solid as possible. And while on the other side, I'm just trying to expand here because I just want to. My plan is simple. I just want to fianchetto the bishop and then castle kingside, and then have all of these pieces ahead of my king as well, so that there are no chances of getting checkmated very quickly. And it's actually very easy to get scholar mated or checkmate, getting checkmated in 1 or 2 moves. It's actually very easy to do so in 4-man chess. um, and okay, we have h11 expanding the queen side, and also this pawn will try to just come up here and try to support this pawn, and that's okay. Now green cannot actually promote his pawn. The reason is because it's being blockaded, and then yellow can actually also not move his pawn forward, and the reason is that he immediately gets captured by green because green has the turn immediately after yellow. So we go, the game continues, knight f9. So we were talking about this knight coming to f9. The reason is because, of course, you want to neutralize this fianchetto here. Because let's say as long as you don't move the knight, let's say you don't move the knight, then basically your bishop is just tied to defending a pawn. And okay, what do you want? What is that? Like, the bishops are one of the most powerful pieces. Like, bishops and rooks both are +5 points anyway. So I mean, you definitely, like, I think bishops are very powerful. They can control like the whole diagonal, and the diagonals are actually very big in this sort of a board. Actually, the bishops are very, very powerful. They're just almost as powerful as the rooks. The rooks can control like the board horizontally, and the bishops can control it diagonally. So it's not like chess. It's actually 4-man chess, and the bishops are just almost as valuable as your rooks, and maybe sometimes even more valuable. So okay, we have knight f9, and now knight to f3. So finally we have knight to f3 by red. Uh, with an unpronounceable name, so that's why I'm just saying the color codes. So knight f3 actually comes here because now, of course, this diagonal is also neutralized. So what do you do here? Just develop a knight. And now bishop to b10. I'm going ahead with my plan here. h10, yellow is going ahead with his plan, and then this is bishop to m8. Bishop to m8. So this was the reason of knight to f9. You want to free this bishop. So maybe yellow has some ideas here, maybe some sneaky ideas. Maybe I'm really sorry. So maybe he just wants to x-ray this king. So let's say if this knight decides to move, then the king gets checked. And okay, that's just developing his pieces. And now we have castles immediately by red. And look at how great of a player he castled on move number 7, like it was a joke. We are not actually playing 4-player chess, and he is actually very solid in this one. I mean, I really like red's position here. Is actually very solid. I, on the other hand, have wasted a lot of moves trying to, being prophylactic, trying to sound like, okay, I'm a very good defender from both sides, and now I castle. So, I mean, at this moment, now the only thing I'm worried about is this light square diagonal. So let's say if this bishop tries to come on this spot, I don't have anyone to, kick this bishop away in this light square diagonal. And this is the reason I want to get rid of this bishop. And now bishop is 13 by him, so he is activating this bishop. Maybe he sees my weakness along these light squares. So all of these light squares that I have, all of these light squares are weak. And the reason is because, I mean, you see, when you push these pawns forward like that, your light squares tend to get weak. So anyway, I4, I don't know what I4 was all about. Maybe just trying to neutralize this diagonal here. And now we have g4. So finally red is deciding to expand in the center, and he's also having a queen supporting this pawn and the knight supporting this pawn, and that's okay. And now c7. So this was actually the first move in this game where I was kind of, it's a constant time pressure when you're playing a 4-man chess. You just get 1 minute on your clock, and then you get like a buffer of 5 seconds or so. Depends on your settings, but you just get a buffer for each move. So you just get like 5 to 6 seconds to just plan out each move. And then if you decide to take more than 5 seconds, then time basically gets deducted from this 1 minute. You have the 1 minute for the entire game, and then you will get 30 seconds on some standard move numbers. Like let's say after X moves, you get 30 seconds added. So anyway, I go C7 here. I don't find a very beautiful move, and this was actually a mistake. The reason is that I mean, I see this that actually yellow is threatening. I mean, yellow can decide to, go ahead and take this bishop here, and then even if I take back with the queen, you see the problem is that my light squared bishop is actually very important. So in an ideal scenario, I just want to move this light squared bishop here, and then my king would be actually very protected. But currently, since I have these weak light squares, I want the light squared bishop to actually control these squares, and this was actually a weakness in my position. So we have knight to L6 again developing, and then rook to H1. So red is playing very calm and composed here, and this is actually worrying me. So all of the players have 0 points till now. We have had no exchanges, and now finally I go D8. So the reason why I go D8 here is because you see this bishop exchange was available in the last round, and yellow just didn't decide to exchange. He just decided to play knight to I12, and then I was like, maybe he just doesn't he just doesn't want to exchange, but actually he does exchange on the next move. So this is it. So after I play d8, I just play like if I knew that yellow wants to exchange the bishops, I just wouldn't have allowed that. I would have just played something like which square is it? I would like which square, I don't know which square is it. Okay, anyway, I just would have placed this pawn here, stopping this bishop from coming on this diagonal. Oh, okay, this is c8. So anyway, I just would have played c8, but now I go d8, and the reason is because I have this very nice interesting pawn chain, and also I want to neutralize the threats from this guy. That's red. Red is the main enemy that we have here. But yellow goes bishop captures a6. Bishop captures bishop on a6. Blue bishop on a6, um, and this is the point where I start to get a little bit frightened here. I start to get a little bit scared. I know this weakness along the light squares is clear. Every player knows this. And then, I mean, if some player decides to, let's say, if he basically decides to, move this queen up and then gang up on me. And then, I mean, I also have this guy attacking from the light squares. And now I have also lost the light square bishop. So anyway, we go ahead, we have knight to k11 by green, and now at this point, at this point what green sees is an opportunity. So he notices that basically yellow is actually attacking me on this side flank. So green notices this opportunity, and he decides to, okay, why don't we just try to get close to yellow here. And okay, we have h4. Oh, sorry, yeah, this is h4, and a very good move. You have this again, and okay, so you have this h4. Now this pawn is supported by the rook, and the game continues. So now queen takes bishop on a6, queen I14, and now again, I mean, he's threatening to exchange his queen. I mean, this guy is just going crazy here. Like there's no reason to actually exchange pieces. You don't get an advantage by exchanging pieces. If queen takes, then I can take back with either rook. And I mean, what you have actually done is, like at this point, we both have 5 points because we both captured a bishop. But then the thing is that these guys actually have the light square bishops, and now light squares are actually a weakness for both of us. So it's at this point that I knew that, okay, I have a light squared weakness, but the only person who can exploit this weakness is yellow because he's the closest to me, right? So at this point, I know that we both have a light squares weak, and now I should try to make my light squares strong. So queen I14, and we have I11. And you know what, yellow kind of blunders here. He just doesn't notice that he can just immediately go straight up and capture this knight, and maybe green also ignores it. He doesn't address this situation. This knight is actually hanging. It's not protected by something unless there's, oh, okay, sorry, this knight cannot actually be taken because of this. So bishop is actually x-raying, so your knight cannot actually move because of this king is actually in check then. All right, so that was actually a good move then. h5, and now red is just expanding in the center, moving his pawns forward. And I have been very conservative here. I mean, all of these guys, they are expanding towards the center, and I'm not. And okay, I go queen a7. The reason is I just don't want to exchange queens here. That will give red and green an advantage. So red can easily, red has a queen. He can easily move his queens up some squares. Maybe not here, but let's say maybe he goes queen here and here, tries to attack this. Then maybe knight can come. All sorts of crazy ideas that he has. He can push this pawn, and when you don't have a queen, there's no way you are defending against a 2007 rated player with a queen. So you don't want to exchange queens at this point. So queen a7, and now I don't understand the point of this queen c8. It was actually a very terrible blunder by yellow, because I can just basically take this back. So maybe yellow was actually counting on red for some kind of support. That if red kind of plays a very forcing move here, then I am actually going to be attacked from both flanks. But I just don't know why yellow went all crazy on me right now. I mean, yellow is just ganging up on me for no reason, and there's no one who's actually supporting him as well. So anyway, we have g5 again expanding in the center. So red has actually a very clear plan. And now again, I have this pawn captures the queen on c8, and then knight g13 by yellow. So yellow is basically lost here at this point. I mean, I would be really surprised if yellow does anything crazy now. I mean, he's just basically lost. And if red was at my position, he would just have basically gone queen here, tried to threaten these pawns at some point, and capture. So anyway, knight k11. What was that? Okay, so yeah, so the knight had actually captured the pawn there from yellow, because yellow was actually involved with me. So the knight was just going crazy here, capturing. So this is actually a basic theme of four-player chess, where if you get yourself very involved in fighting a single player, another player can actually attack you from the opposite flank. And that's why I'm actually not picking up any direct fights with either of these guys. And okay, I'm really liking my position here. Now, of course, these light squares are weak, but okay, that's not a problem. So I want the best thing that can happen for me is if both of these light squared bishops exchange themselves at some point, and then everyone will not have a light squared bishop. Okay, knight k11, retreating with the knight here. Now h6. Queen a8, again going with that plan here, like queen a8, and then you just want to keep a constant eye on this pawn. Let's say if the king decides to castle or the king just moves, at least it's good to have an eye on this pawn. You just don't have anything to do. You just don't want to commit towards the center or anything. You just don't want to develop towards the center, right? So king h13, and now the king moves, and I again don't know why he does this. Maybe he's just trying to defend this knight again, but there's no reason for him to actually do that. He just hangs a pawn. So anyway, I mean, you know that yellow is the lowest rated here, and yellow is the guy you have to sort of dominate, right? And okay, we have king to h13, and then we have l7. I mean, you just want to unleash the power of this brilliant dark squared bishop you have, because now his king is in danger. So yellow is in danger, and I mean, he's being attacked from both of these flanks. If I were yellow, I would have just resigned. G6 again, red continuing, and look at this. I mean, he has the best center out of all the four players belongs to him, and the best defense belongs to me, I guess. I mean, I'm really happy with the way my king is, inside a fortress like that, and I'm also, controlling these light squares, at least with my queen temporarily. Now, the main problem could be if yellow decides to, bust open my position here with these kind of ideas, and then that would actually be a problem for me. But currently, since yellow is being attacked, that's not a problem, and that's why I'm actually assisting in attacking yellow as well, because I don't want him to counterattack me. And now queen takes f13, which is kind of obvious here. And now we have e12. So he tries to actually trap my queen. So he thinks he will actually trap my queen. Oh, I don't know. I don't know how you're trapping my queen. No. We have bishop developing to m7. We have pawn to g7, again expanding towards the center. and now actually threatening to take here. Notice that this queen is no longer protecting the pawn, so this pawn is up for the grabbing. And again, I mean, the point is that, you know, your knight is hanging, so what do you do here? Do you protect this pawn? Do you like move back with the knight? And now the logical move is just to move the knight here, you know, getting the knight out of the harm's way, and then also, you know, protecting this pawn. That's the logical move for green. So these kind of ideas are really tricky here. So when one player is under an attack, you just kind of, you know, attack him from another side as well, because I mean, he just has to choose the most valuable like defense. He cannot defend both of the attacks. So he for instance, green can just not go ahead and take this pawn because then his knight is hanging. And okay, I have queen f5. I mean, I found I looked it was in this move that I actually ended up using, like, okay, look at this. We have 57 seconds on the clock and now we have 46. So it was in this move I used a lot of time here. I sort of was calculating like which is the best square for my queen. Of course, your queen cannot retreat because of this pawn blocking. So your queen can either go along this diagonal or your queen can go along these squares. So you don't have a lot of calculations to do. And I was like, okay, f5 is a good square because from f5 I'm defending this weak pawn of mine, this backward pawn, and I'm also attacking green. So if green gets careless, I might just actually grab this pawn. And okay, we have king to I14, and at this point yellow gets grayed out, and I don't really understand the reason. Did he resign? Maybe he did resign because there was no checkmate actually. Like no one is actually checkmating him. So I think at this point yellow just decides to resign. He just doesn't want to give any more points to anyone. The reason is simple because he knows that, I mean, this knight is sort of attacking this, the bishop is attacking, and you also cannot, you know, take back this knight back because I mean, what are you doing? Your king is basically under attack from this bishop. So at this point, I think yellow decides to resign here. He just doesn't want to give any points to green for capturing this knight, and that's okay. And okay, we have the next move, that is bishop to I9. It's an interesting move. Now I don't know why he's going for this. Maybe we'll think about it later. So just the fact is that bishop to I9 just also controls this light square diagonal. And again, there's one more thing that we need to notice here, that he's actually leaving this pawn hanging, but I cannot just go ahead and grab this pawn because it's a trap. So we have d4 here. Again, look at this. Look at this beautiful d4 by red. Look at this beautiful move. So he is going d4 here. He definitely does want to start attacking my queen side because I don't have anything on my queen side. So what do I have on my queen side? I basically have these 3 pawns and a knight. Are you joking here? Like, this guy has a knight, a bishop, and a rook. He has all of these pawns as well. This queen is also eyeing here, and he wants to start an attack. So okay, I noticed that. So now queen f11 check. And it's an interesting decision here. I actually take some time on my clock again because I'm actually wondering, can I actually take this pawn that's lying there on m5? And what I actually discover is that I cannot take this pawn. The reason is because let's say if queen goes ahead and takes on m5, then we have this rook coming on n5. So this is m5 and this is n5. So once this rook comes on n5, and that's a defense by green, now my queen is basically trapped. Because let's say if I can go play this queen, I mean play this queen to the square that is, which square is it, L4. So I can go play queen back to L4 here, but now red is attacking. Red is directly attacking my queen, and on the next round red is just going to take away my queen. So there's no escape square for my queen after this rook comes here attacking my queen. So I just cannot go for that pawn here. This pawn right there is very poisoned. And okay, since I am checking you, king to j14, moving away the king, and now knight to j9, defending this pawn, and now also the queen is also defending. Okay, so this was the reason why he actually played this bishop here. He just wants to defend this queen. So this was the reason behind this move, that is bishop to I9. This was the reason. Okay, so knight to j9 here, and now Again, h7. And now what do you do here? You have these solid dual pawns, and then you also have these queen and rook behind. And okay, so queen d9, I go back with the queen, and this was my plan anyway. I just had to, keep my queen on these light squares, and I almost for the entire game I kept my queen on these light squares, trying to play defensive here. So I played a very defensive in this particular match. I think that's why I won. You don't want to exchange pieces when you are playing in a four-man game. You just want to, let the others exchange pieces, and then when they don't have enough pieces, you just can go ahead and attack them. So you just want to keep your army intact as long as you can. And now we have knight takes on h10. So what does he take? Okay, so he takes a grayed out piece. That doesn't give him any points. So currently, point wise, I'm ahead the most here. And okay, h takes g8, and he under promotes to a knight. So he takes this pawn and he under promotes to a knight. And the reason is simple. Like, you know that this knight is going to take this anyway, and you don't want to promote it to a queen, because then capturing the queen also gives them 1 point only. But then I mean, you just don't want to, give them the, like, I don't know, there's no advantage to under promotion here. But you just don't want to promote to a queen. You just don't want to, have them capture your queen. I mean, they are going to take anyway. It doesn't matter really. And now rook to 8 by me. I just don't have anything to play here, so I just decide to improve the position of my rook, because let's say if my queen decides to go in at some point, then this rook is defending this pawn. And that's the reason I play this. And now on my board, we have these two backward pawns that are hanging. So we just want to play rook here at some point, defending this pawn. But this pawn is not being attacked right now, so I just don't play that. And king to j14, knight to j9, again maneuvering with the knight here. Now I don't know, I don't understand why he just doesn't take this knight. Now, does he get afraid here? Okay, so now I know why he doesn't, because so basically if he just takes the knight, then red takes here and promotes to a queen. And now this knight is no longer here, this knight is actually here. So red takes and promotes to the queen, and now you cannot even take with your queen because this rook is defending. Oh my god, that was a brilliant tactic that I missed during the live game. And now this is the reason why this knight goes back. And now if you promote to a queen here, let's say if this pawn actually promoted to a queen, the knight would immediately take. So that's, very, I would say that's a great IQ by both of these players. Both of these players are actually pretty high rated. And now knight f6, going back with the knight. You just want to get it out of the harm's way, and you have an extra knight which you can enjoy. And now my queen immediately grabs that knight on j9, and with a check to the yellow king. The knight is hanging. There's no reason why I cannot grab it. Maybe just green just didn't look enough. I mean, all of these players are actually running low on time while I have a lot of time. Okay, because I'm actually using their time to think, right? So I'm actually making my own plans during their time. And now king captures on k14. So yellow is not doing anything at this point. He is just trying to capture his own pieces, and I don't understand why. So anyway, we have another capture here. We have a pawn actually capturing and again under promoting to one knight, and that is okay. Now queen takes back, and we have queen d9 by me. Again, I want to keep my queen on these light squares. I mean, this light square diagonal is the most dangerous diagonal for me, and I just want to keep my queen here for as long as it is logically possible for me. And now king to j14, queen to j8 check, and now green is actually getting greedy here. He's actually trying to capture this king, so he will get 20 points if he does that. And now we have knight to h7. Of course he's going after this queen, attacking this queen, so trying to dismantle green here a little bit. And okay, so after knight to h7, I basically just play e8. Now let's get these drawings out of the way. And now I play e8 because at some point I would just like to move away with my queen, and I just want to close this diagonal permanently. So maybe I will push this pawn forward at some point, and then I will get these light squares covered with my pawns. So let's clear these drawings. And now we have king to I13. I don't know what he's doing here. And now queen to a8, of course, threatening. Of course, you want to move your queen back because this knight is attacking your queen. And now you're also threatening to come on this square. So maybe you just like your bishop is also attacking this. So maybe you would just like to checkmate this. Sorry, just capture this king that yellow has and gain 20 points here. Okay, so knight to f8, and now red first tries to attack green queen, and then he attacks my queen, that is blue queen. And now, okay, we have queen to b11, retreating queen to a very safe square here, and also I want to keep an eye on this pawn, and of course this light square diagonal, that is my weakest spot here. So if you can just control your weak spots and your weak places in the game of chess, then there's no way how the person is going to find any weakness in your position, right? King to j12 here, and now queen takes f2. So red actually did blunder a pawn here. Like this knight didn't need to come here, and he should have just defended this pawn. And this is what I think, this is the reason why I think I actually won this game, because I was actually looking at all of my pieces and I was actually defending my pieces very well. So I actually didn't make a lot of bad moves with my pieces on the queen side, because I was not actually focusing there, and I didn't want to actually hang one of my pawns. And then, I mean, it's very clear. You just had to see that, okay, this queen is attacking your pawn. So maybe he just thought that this queen will go after this king, and then he might just avoid taking my pawn. But then green doesn't do that, and green doesn't fall for that. He knows that, okay, I can just return and then go after yellow king anyway. Let me take this pawn for now. And now we have rook to h2. Again, you are attacking the queen. Now your knight is defending the rook. You are attacking the queen, also protecting this bishop, because now the queen cannot take because the rook is eyeing here. So very excellent move by red again. And now we have d7. Of course, continuing improving my position here, and I have almost covered my weak squares at this point. And now king to I13, we have queen to L8. Again, retreating with this queen. So now you have taken this pawn. There's no reason why your queen has to stay here. You cannot actually do anything against along the back rank. You have this rook guarding, you have this knight guarding, and then there's just no way to get any play here. So now queen back, and now again you are threatening to actually just play this. And okay, so we have queen to g5 by red. And now maybe with some ideas, like let's say if this knight moves at some point, then you have both of these queen and the bishops actually eyeing on this knight. And if I just get a little bit careless here, I only have one defender, and then I will just lose a knight. So maybe some ideas like that. And I'm actually eyeing on this knight. So as soon as he decides to move away with this knight, I will just maybe try to play this at some point and then close this position. So we have rook a5 by me, because for now, I mean, this is something like this knight is something that he will attack in the future, but he's actually attacking my let's say my pawn on b5. So the queen is currently attacking this, and thus my rook comes to defend. So this is actually something that you have to pay attention to. I think I did again, I'm down to 30 seconds, but I'm actually calculating while the other people are using their own time. And the reason is because you just have to stay very solid here. Let's say you just blunder this. Now you basically lose the game, because let's say you don't move the rook here. Let's say in the next move he just captures. Now the queen is entering this position. You don't have a light squared bishop again, so now this light squared bishop can come at some point, and then the game is pretty much over. This is hanging, and then after this pawn is captured, then this knight is also hanging. And how do you defend here? So you basically have to just identify these plans and neutralize them before they even get into action. And okay, so this rook to a5, very important move. You just have to play rook to a5 here, because then, I mean, the game is lost. So now king to j12 by yellow, and yellow is actually very clever here. You'll get to know what he's trying to do in just a moment. And now queen takes this knight on f8 with a check to the yellow king, and that's an interesting move. So now again, notice that this knight is actually an extra knight that red has, and he just decides to sacrifice this knight for some counterplay. Maybe he thought that okay, if I just go ahead and grab this pawn, maybe that's the threat, and that's why green will not actually get greedy and take my knight. Because once you take this pawn, green's position is sort of collapsing here at this point. You have this bishop takes here, and then you can't even castle. There's just nothing you can do. You have this pawn is hanging, this pawn is hanging. Once this pawn, let's say once this pawn is taken, then this pawn is again hanging. It doesn't have any support. And now if I were green, I would just have tried to maybe consolidate my position with a move like this, just what I did on my side. So this should have been played here. Now you see, I could have been a little bit aggressive here, trying to go ahead with this pawn, but then this rook would have been permanently tied to the defense of this pawn, and I don't want to give him any counterplay. So now he doesn't get any counterplay from the flank that we both share, that is red and me. So in this flank, I'm just trying to stay very solid here with these pieces. I'm not giving him any chances. And now green actually gave him a chance, and he will just take that chance. So we have queen takes m5 here, and now rook to a7. Because at this point, I mean, this rook doesn't have any purpose here. I'm planning to push this pawn up at some point, and then planning to push these pawns up. So the reason why I played rook to a7 here is because once I push this pawn up, I want something to defend this backward pawn. If let's say this knight moves at some point. So we have king to k11. Beautiful move once again by yellow, and you'll come to know about that in the next round. And now we have queenside castling by green. And okay, you are connecting rooks here. You are defending your rook, but then again, this pawn is hanging and this pawn is hanging. What you are going to do about bishop takes here, maybe queen takes here. So you just basically gave a lot of counterplay to red. And okay, so red doesn't get greedy here. He goes back with his knight. The reason is simple. He wants to actually open this diagonal. And then you also have this rook defending this bishop. And that's great. So because this bishop just doesn't have any purpose here, like it's just getting neutralized and murdered by these two pawns. So now he's trying to open the second, he's trying to open the second diagonal for the bishop. And okay, we have knight to a8 by me, and at this point, like, I know that I have to just go ahead with this pawn at some point. So this is a future idea that we have, but I don't want to do it just yet, because I just want to close, as you know, that I just want to close this position as soon as this knight sort of decides to perform these crazy jumps. So and then this diagonal will be open, and then I want to push my pawn. So right now I just want to go back with my knight and sort of remaneuver to a very good square, and maybe attack this queen that is getting a bit offensive here towards my side, right? So you don't want the queen to just keep on staying here at this point. And okay, so we have stalemate for yellow. I mean, yellow is stalemated at this point. He just doesn't have any moves. He has resigned, so all of his pieces are grayed out. His king cannot go here because it's protected like this. This is protected, this is protected. So the king cannot go along all of these squares. And the king cannot also go here because this bishop is eyeing on this side. The king cannot go here. Because this bishop is eyeing here, this bishop is eyeing on this particular square. So the king can just basically not go anywhere, and the king cannot even go back here because this queen is eyeing. So I mean, he just doesn't give 20 points to any of us, and he just beautifully gets a stalemated. Now I don't know how does that benefit him, but that does benefit all the other players. And now green doesn't get the 20 points he wanted by checkmating or by capturing yellow's king. And okay, we have this bishop takes, and like, what do you do here? You don't have any other option as green. I mean, you already have red trying to harass you from the queen side, and then he's also eyeing on your king side. You just don't want to allow that, so you just decide to exchange these bishops here. And this is just what I wanted. So when both of these guys, they exchange these light squared bishops, I'm actually very happy here. And now at this point, I just don't need to be extra cautious about my light squares now, because no one has a light squared bishop to attack me. And also at this point, I'm really good here. Like, I have a full army intact, with the exception of the light squared bishop I lost. at the starting, and I also have 25 points, which is more than any of my counter comrades. And also I have a very good defensive position here, and I'm getting ready to sort of remaneuver my knight. So I'm looking very good here. At this point, if you'll ask me, I would say I'm going to be first in this game anyway, because now red and green are going to be engaged in combat, and at this point I might want to try to attack red, start attacking red, because now he doesn't have a lot of pieces here, so I can just go ahead and start attacking him. But I decide to improve my position a bit more. So this is the sort of the summary of this position till now. And now knight to c7, so of course I'm going getting ready to remaneuver my knight. Yellow is out of the game, so we have king going back to n10. Again, a prophylactic move, you want the king to be safe. And now we have e4. And oh my, this guy, this red guy, he just wants to constantly keep pushing towards my king side, and he just wants to keep pushing. Maybe he's threatening something like this, attacking my knight. And so okay, I prevent that by playing knight to d8, and now this doesn't come with tempo. Now there's no point in pushing this, because this just doesn't come with any tempo here. And now we have queen back to k8. He notices that he needs this queen along these squares here, trying to defend his king. So green goes back, and now we have queen to y5. So both of these queens coming towards the center of the board. And look at my queen. Oh, what she is doing. What is she even doing at this point? And okay, I have knight to e6 now. And so before I actually go ahead with my plan of placing my knight here, before that, I actually have a very interesting maneuver. Sorry, I actually have done a very interesting maneuver here with my knight, and now my knight is very nicely placed on e6, and I think that's a very good outpost for my knight. And okay, so we have knight to j7 attacking the red queen here, and now queen back to h4 retreating, and now bishop takes the queen on h4. I mean, another blunder. Because red is very low on time here, so we just don't have we just can't say anything about this at this point. You just don't have a lot of time on your clock, and you just didn't see I was open on that diagonal. And now okay, your rook will take my bishop at some point, but then the queen is worth 10 points, and I'm happy to grab the queen. And we have knight to k5 here, rook takes the bishop, and then d8. Okay, so at this point d8 just has to come. There's no other option here. What do you do? Because you can have this bishop eyeing along this diagonal at some point, although red just doesn't have a lot of material to attack this diagonal. But then again, it's nice to have this diagonal closed, because green can get greedy here, maybe try to attack this diagonal here. He also has a dark squared bishop that is free to attack you, and you just don't know what happens. So it's just better to stay prepared, because in a four-man chess, when three people start attacking you together, there's just not enough time to prepare. And thus d8 by me. Queen takes knight on e2. Again, we have this knight hanging, and the reason is because this rook just went back to capture. So okay, this rook was a kind of overloaded here, as you can see in this move. So this rook is kind of overloaded. He's tied to the defense of this knight. He's also trying to defending this queen, and then this rook just basically gets murdered here. Because let's say if I let's say what I do here. Oh, I'm really sorry. So the queen h4. So I basically take, and now this rook moves, and at this point this knight is hanging, and this knight immediately gets taken by green. And it is at this point that green is actually having an advantage on this guy here. So queen takes the knight on e2. And okay, so now queen takes knight on e2, and we have the next move as rook h1. Again, you don't have a lot to do here. You can just double up rooks here now. You have basically blundered a knight, and now your rook was also under attack, so you just get this rook out of the harm's way. And I mean, at this point green is actually looking pretty good here. I mean, If you look at the material on the board, he has a queen, two rooks, he has a bishop and a knight, and now red doesn't have a lot. Red doesn't have a lot to play with, and now green will just try to start squeezing red and trying to just get a checkmating attack on him. While I am the best here right now. I mean, I have 34 points on the board, and I also have a queen. I have both of the rooks in game. I have both of my knights, and I literally have an army of pawns as well. So at this point, the only person who actually has some chances against me is actually green. So at this point, I should just start looking to support red. The reason is because you know that red cannot checkmate you, and then you just want to defend red from getting checkmated here, and you just want to be attacking green because let's say if green manages to checkmate red, that's actually bad for you because he just gets 20 points, so he's on to 41 points, and then you might just go ahead and win at some point because your pawns are very close to queening. But then again, you don't want to take that risk with only 20 seconds on the clock. I decide, okay, from this point onwards, I'm going to support red. So, okay, so first we have knight takes on d4. Of course, you don't want to miss any points. Like you want to support red, but that doesn't mean you do not hunt down his pawns. Because that basically gives you 1 point, right? So knight takes on d4, attacking this queen, queen back to k8, and now we have e5. You don't have anything to play here. Your king is very nice and safely guarded, so there's nothing to play here actually. You cannot just move any of these pieces, and thus you go e5. There's just no other logical move. And now knight to e6. Again, I want to centralize that knight, and now that knight is coming to i6 again, attacking this rook here. So this rook has to move. So rook to h6, attacking the knight, and now rook to a9. So rook to a9 is actually giving my rook a nice space to lift, so my rook can decide to lift at some point, maybe to this square, maybe to this square, whichever square is needed. And it's not really needed in this game, but it's a nice idea. It's a nice positional idea. So we have k6 by green, and now we have k4 finally. On k4 is on the board. I mean, you don't want any counter attacks here along the slide diagonal. Like, I don't really like k4, but okay, you just have to play something at this point. I have blocked this pawn, and thus you just have to play something. Queen d9, now having a very sneaky idea of actually taking this pawn and pushing this king here, and also getting an attack on green, but green actually sees it, and now it's very ugly. L9. So L9 is a move that you do not just want to play. Now your dark squares are permanently weakened, and notice that I don't have any dark square bishops to attack him. So anyway, I don't attack him, and now we have rook h5. I mean, you just move somewhere, and now I have d4. So at this point, I think I'm pretty much winning if I just go ahead, try to push my central pawns. But then I decide not to take any chances. Green still has a chance against me, and so I just decide to play a little solid and just play the waiting game. And now knight to j4, attacking the rook back to h4, and now the main action is just happening between red and green. Well, I'm just trying to solidify my position as I was doing this entire game. And now I take on e5, I take the pawn, win a point again, and now we have this knight to i6, again attacking the rook, and rook h6. We have d6 by me, and now I'm finally actually preparing to now push one of my marginal pawns. So I will not actually push my central pawn. The reason is you have this queen and rook actually defending. So even if I manage to go successfully queen here, it's very hard to keep that queen intact on the board with 3 pieces attacking. And so I decide to seize this opportunity and try to push this marginal pawn up. And okay, let's see if I succeed here. We have the bishop to k9 again attacking this rook, and now this rook has to move somewhere. So now rook h9 attacking the bishop, and now also attacking my queen. And okay, queen to c8, I'm defending my queen. I'm also keeping an eye on this backward pawn here, which is kind of hanging, and so we have bishop to i10. You just want to have the bishop on a safe square. So we have rook to h10 attacking the bishop. Now we have e7 by me. I'm just trying to push my pawns sort of like it's not the best course of action in this position. I just think it's just better to just go ahead and keep constantly pushing one pawn rather than pushing them all together. But okay, queen j8. And what does queen j8 actually do? Maybe just preparing for some sort of sneaky ideas here. We will see that in just a moment. Now, again, we have rook captures bishop on l10. And now you might be like, okay, why does he capture this bishop here? The reason is because the rook is just as valuable as the bishop. He just wants to gain some points here. And now, of course, if this queen moves off track, then maybe he will get my sympathy here, and then he might just decide to have some count. He might just try to have some counterplay. And now I have f8 by me, and queen takes back. So we have knight to h5 by red, and at this point red is basically just counting on me. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of material here, and if he just wants to have a respectable position in this game, he just wants my support. And I'm actually more than happy to support him because I'm basically supporting him from all this time. So you just have to in a four-man game, you just have to think logically. You just have to think, okay, this guy is actually ahead, so red thinks at this point that blue is actually ahead, and he just doesn't want to harm me at this point. And that with my assistance, he can actually have an attack on green. uh, you'll know what I'm trying to say in just a moment. So we have d5 here, again consolidating my position, and now knight back to k7. Just maneuvering pieces here, you just playing random moves. There's nothing very specific here. And now this knight to j6. We have f5 by me, and now I'm actually threatening to promote in just two moves. So okay, now we have this pawn to k9. And I mean, there's no reason for all of these moves. They're just randomly trying to maneuver pieces here. Maybe each player is working on his own plan. And now we have this knight on this beautiful, excellent outpost, guarded here on l5. And now we have king to b10. And okay, so I want to move this queen away at some point. Maybe just go for a mating attack on red. And so I decide to play king to b10 first, so that I just don't have any, so that you don't have any attacks along this flank. So you basically want your king to be defending this pawn here, because you don't want like green to just capture and then threatening this pawn at some point, winning a tempo on you. So you want king to b10, and now knight takes on l5. And okay, the pawn takes back, and that's pretty that's actually fine here. And now my knight back to d4 here. Now I'm preparing to get my queen into the game and maybe push a few more pawns. And now we have j6. And now we have l6 by red. Of course, he doesn't have any more moves here, so he's just playing, just pushing his pawns to like nowhere actually. So okay, I play e5 here. At this point, I think I get a bit too cautious. I mean, I don't need to be really that cautious here. Like I can just go ahead with the knight. I can just push this pawn up, and then this pawn is actually queening. So okay, I just have to push one pawn here. I don't need to be so cautious at this point. But then okay, when you are in a time trouble, it's not easy to spot those moves. And now i6 by green and rook to h6, again stopping that pawn from going forward. And now we have e6 by me. I'm going at my turtle space, pushing my pawns one by one. So we have queen to l9, and now we have bishop i3. And this is where the game starts to get really interesting, and this game has a very unexpected twist at the end. So we have bishop to i3, and now bishop to i3, what it does is actually prevents this pawn. So actually just supports this pawn at some point. So we have f6 by me, and now k4. K4, basically you just want to bust open this position here, and then you want to attack this king with your rook at some point. You just want to do all of those things. So now we have j takes on k4 because he sees the plan, and there's just no other good move here. And now I have g5 attacking his rook, and now we have rook takes on k4. Immediately rook taking back, and now okay, rook is attacked, so rook goes back to h3. And now I have rook I move my own rook to d5 because I also want to take part in this party here. So rook to d5 and now queen to j7 check. So green starts trying to attack red at this point. There's no other uh, possible move here. You cannot attack me. My king is very heavily guarded, and just don't have an attack on me at this point. So at this point, I did miss a move, which I should have played it, which I should have played, but it's very hard to spot those moves in a uh, game when you sort of are under time. However, it's an easy move to find. I should have just. Sorry, I just didn't miss. Okay, so this rook is actually guarding this pawn. So okay, but I could have done some sort of sneaky idea, maybe moving this rook up and trying to go after green. I should have just actually gone after green. So anyway, I go after green from another flank in this game, but there is always scope of improvement. And so knight to f5, I'm trying to improve my knight here, and now uh, he sees it. So and now he moves his pawn forward to k8. We have king to i1, rook to d1 check, and now my rook goes into the game. Now with the last move, I actually did move my knight forward, freeing up this rook for this left, and now rook goes to d1 with check. And now we have queen to j4, and it's a competition between green and me at this point, at who is able to get the checkmate on red first. Whoever does that has an upper hand in the game going forward. So okay, we have rook to h1 defending, and now my rook back to d5. I'm just not interested in checkmating red at this point. There's just no reason for me to do that. Basically because red cannot win, right? Red cannot win against me at this point. So there's no reason to checkmate red, and I would just prefer to attack green. So now we have this pawn marching forward here. We have this bishop h4 with check, and now okay, I am on the move here. I can just go ahead and immediately grab this bishop, but why do I do that? Like, okay, you have the chance to grab this bishop, you get 5 points to do that, your score will get to 41, but then why do you do that? He's attacking your enemy, that is green, and now you can prepare to attack the green on your own. So I basically just do that. I play rook to d4, and now basically if this bishop moves anywhere along this diagonal, I have this beautiful attack on this queen, and now also green cannot defend his queen because green's king is actually under check. So that's actually a very beautiful play by me. Rook to d4, attacking his queen because he's under check. So of course he has to defend check in this move, and he cannot just move his queen away from that point. And now king to n11, you just don't have any other move at this point. Of course this queen is going to get taken in the next move. There's just nothing you can do about it, right? I mean, there's just nothing you can do about it. That's very sad. And now we have this bishop to k7. Of course red is now assisting me because it's very good for red actually if I just grab this queen, because this queen is actually going to actually deliver checkmate. I mean, that's amazing. Like, green was just one move away from checkmating red at this point. That is something you have to realize, guys. This is absolutely crucial here. Green was just one move away from checkmating red. At this point I play rook takes the queen on j4, and now he takes back. He shouldn't have taken back with this rook. I think it was actually better to take back with this rook, and then you again have this checkmating threat. So let's say if red just plays a random move here with his bishop. Okay, this is not possible, but if red just plays a random move, then you have this rook coming to checkmate. But okay, rook takes on j4 because he just sees that the red will just move here, and there's no point in trying to create that threat. And okay, red doesn't need to move now because the threat is not there. So he goes with his rook to h8. The idea is simple. You just want to play rook here at some point. And okay, at this point I go knight to d9, further improving my position. Finally my knight is on d9. That's very great to see. So rook to k1 check, king to h2, and now queen to c5. So I just put my queen to c5 here because I just want to come on either of these squares depending on the situation. Okay, so we have rook to j1, and now he's preparing to actually attack this king from behind, and that's very great. And now we have a simple, very quite sneaky idea with bishop to I8, trying to come here, and then this rook would try to come here at some point. And now I just play queen to d4. The reason I play queen to d4 is because I actually want to go ahead and punish this king now, harass this king, and now he has to decide what he wants to do. So he just goes with rook h1 check, maybe doesn't see that my queen to d4 was a sneaky idea, and now king to i3, and now queen n4 with check on green. So this is the green king sitting on the corner of the board here, and now king to m11, and now this king is actually on the verge of getting checkmated, and it does get. So in the next couple of moves, we have bishop takes on k9 with check. And now what does this king do at this point? The only move is to move this pawn forward, but that doesn't protect you, does it? Right? I mean, it doesn't. So we have rook to a4, and now I'm threatening checkmate in the next move. So basically, if my rook will come along the m file, then it's game over for green. It's game over. I mean, the next move, green just has to play this pawn up, and then I just want to play rook here. But this doesn't actually happen in the game. This was my plan. It doesn't really happen in the game. Now green plays i10. There's no way to defend your queen, to defend you from getting, to protect you from getting checkmated at this point. You have both of these squares are guarded by my queen. You are also are getting checked, so you just have to move the pawn in between. And now we have rook to m8 checkmate, and red actually ends up checkmating green, which is amazing. You know, fantastic, fantabulous at this point. Like, if someone like and at this point you also realize how good red was. I mean, he was 2000 rated, and he just finds it. He just finds it. He all he has is a rook and a bishop. You know, he just manages to checkmate green at some point, obviously assisted by my queen. It was all possible because I had a queen. So okay, he was just one move ahead of me, and he manages to find the checkmate, else I would have checkmated anyway, but that's okay. So at this point, both yellow and green are out of the game, and all I need to do is just harass red. And now king to j2, queen to j4, and now king to i1, and now this pawn will go up, make a queen. Now this queen is coming here and getting check. You're getting checkmated, red. There's nothing you can do. So h5 queen, and now we have rook back to j8, attacking this queen, maybe trying to dismantle it, but I don't even need to move it at this point because queen h2 is checkmate, and that is game over. So well, this was a very beautiful instructional game, a long one actually as well. 64 moves is what it took to actually win this, but I think there were a lot of useful tips, tricks, and ideas that you might like to incorporate in your game. So feel free to let me know how did you like this video or not, and should I continue making these kind of videos for you. Till then, let's meet next time. Until next time, this is your host Shiv from the shadow. Bye bye for now.